This week, I rewatched Mad Max Fury Road, the movie, because I hadn't seen it in like 10 years. And then I discovered the crazy, unbelievable, but true story of how Mad Max Fury Road came to be made. Because it took nearly 20 years and everything that kind of could go wrong did go wrong. And I think you need to know about it. So this week is about film history. So Mad Max came out in 2015. But the idea for it was conceived in like way back in 1996, where the director George Miller, who had done the original Mad Max movies, had the idea and he was trying to ship the idea around and sell the screenplay, but he couldn't do it because it was very expensive and studios were just ignoring him and bleh. But he managed to pitch the idea to Mel Gibson and get Mel Gibson on board. So he thought if Mel's on board, then maybe the studios will invest money, so on and so forth. Mel agreed, if only he would take some like ridiculous paycheck, but he agreed and it was all in the process. So George Miller, the director, had this script that nobody wanted to buy. So he took a detour and decided to make Babe, the children's movie, which was a massive commercial success. And so the studios were like, oh, okay, maybe we'll give you some money to make Mad Max. What are you saying now? But then Babe Pig in the City happened, which was a massive commercial flop. So then the studios were like, maybe he's a one-hit wonder. Now it was like 2003 and they were 6 weeks away from the film being filmed with Mel Gibson, and they were going to shoot it in Australia and everything was ready. They'd been making props, like the props were all made. It was all good to go. They were 6 weeks out and Warner Brothers pulled the plug because there was a freak storm, like weather-wise, in Australia, and the desert where they were supposed to be filming turned green for like the first time in like 30 years. So they were like, it's all not working. So the movie was not made in 2000. So George Miller took a side quest once again to make another children's movie called Happy Feet, which again was a massive commercial success and got a lot of like accolades and a lot of attention. So then he was like, please, can I make Fury Road now? Like, please. But by this time, Mel Gibson had got pretty old. He was like well over 50. And also he was having major public relation issues because all of his like leaked photos with him being horrendously abusive to his girlfriend came out, and George Miller was like, I'm never working with him again, sorry, I'm gonna find a new Max. So he recast Mad Max, and the dream guy that he was thinking of for Mad Max Fury Road was Heath Ledger. And he actually met with Heath Ledger, and Heath Ledger was interested. At the moment he was filming Dark Knight Rises. Yes, he was filming the Joker, his Joker role. And so it was going to be, Mad Max was going to be Heath Ledger. But then Heath Ledger tragically died. And so they had to recast again. And they tried to find someone who had Heath Ledger energy from the Joker. And George Miller picked Tom Hardy. Excellent choice. He's a fabulous Mad Max. Apparently, Charlize Theron had been on the original top actress list for this role for Furiosa from the 90s. And when she heard about the movie and got the offer, she agreed to do it straight away. She came in to test with Tom Hardy, and apparently their chemistry test was insane. And everybody was like so excited. In fact, the producer was so excited about the chemistry test and how good this movie was going to be that she left the audition and crashed her car immediately outside because she was so like, ah! Everyone know it was not going to go well between Tom Hardy and Charlize. They were not friends. Anyway, more on that. Now, Nicholas Hoult plays Knox in the movie, and I think he is astounding and perfectly perfect. However, George Miller wasn't a fan and kept taking him off the table in the audition process, and the casting directors kept putting him back on, and they were like, George, listen, he's stunning, he's going to be fantastic. And he's like, no, the war boys need to be like kind of sickly, but Nicholas Hoult is literally like 6'3" and quite buff, and they were like, next to Tom Hardy, who's quite a wee man, you're making Mad Max look titchy, and he doesn't visually look right. And they were like, it doesn't matter, we'll shoot it in a different way, we want Nicholas Hoult. And thank goodness George Miller listened, because he was turned around by it, and then they cast him, and he's fabulous in this. Now, casting for The Wives literally took 3 years, and they saw like hundreds and hundreds of actresses, but they ended up with this bunch, which includes Zoe Kravitz and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, which was like her second movie she'd ever done ever. So now it's like 2012 and they're gearing up to shoot the movie for the second time. And this time they are 2 weeks away from shooting. Literally, again, everybody's prepped, everybody's ready, we've got all the props, everything's ready to go. Warner Brothers pulls the plug again. So the movie was pulled for the second time and the producers were like, they needed to find filming locations on a lower budget and knock a lot of the, they had to knock 4 weeks off their filming schedule and a whole bunch of stuff. They found a location in Namibia in Africa and they were like, why don't we film it in Africa? And Warner Brothers was like, hell no, we are not filming in Africa. Not gonna do that. Absolutely not. The producers were like, yeah, we are. We just are, though. We just are. And apparently the producer bought a shipping container, freight, like a shipping boat, shipped all of the equipment, the props, everything that was made to Namibia, and it cost $2 million to do that, and literally held Warner Brothers by the ball sack and was like, yeah, well, if you want all your kit back, you're going to have to pay to ship it back. Or, now that it's here, we might as well just film a movie. What do you think? And then Warner Brothers were like, fine. Film your stupid movie then. Fine. Now, because of all the stop-start, filming, not filming, Charlize Theron had recently adopted her very first child, and her baby boy was 7 weeks old when they started filming in Namibia. So she took the newborn baby to Namibia, and she did this entire movie in the first few months of her baby's life and being a new mum for the first time, which is insane. Also, probably massively contributed to the tensions and the fights on set that would happen later on because, you know, she's got a lot on her plate. Now, one of the reasons why Mad Max Fury Road is so impressive is that there is actually a lot of practical effects and a hell of a load of real stunts. So all the polecats, all these guys that are flipping around on the poles on the moving convoy of vehicles, it was real dudes. Apparently they had to pass a test. They had to go up and down the pole, show they could go up and down the pole at least 3 times on the moving car. And then that meant that they could be an official polecat. But it was real. It was so incredibly dangerous. And yes, one of them got hurt. An accident happened. A polecat guy, stunt guy, fell off while they were doing the moving convoy. Luckily, the driver behind was super vigilant and saw the guy because he hit the ground. He knocked himself out. Luckily, only that, he did survive. But they managed to radio through and say, help, we're down, man down. And the driver behind circled around him to make sure that nobody would run him over and he wouldn't go underneath the convoy of real trucks. Now, one of the main issues in filming was the fact that the 2 co-stars literally hated each other. They could not stand each other. They both approached their work very differently. Charlize is a on-time person. If she's got a call time at 8, she's gonna be there at 8, fully in makeup, ready to go, lines learnt. She's not missing a trick. She's uber professional. Plus she had a baby to look after. She wanted to get onto set and off to set. There was no time for messing around. Whereas Tom Hardy was late all the time. Not prepared. He held up production a lot, which is insane if you think about it, because he wasn't quite yet Tom Hardy. You know, he'd done a bunch of stuff, but not that much that he could really pull that kind of crap. Anyway, one morning there was the call time. They were supposed to be in the war rig by 8 a.m. and Charlize Theron was there. She was ready. She was done up. She was ready to go. No Tom Hardy to be seen. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., still no Tom Hardy. She refused to get out of the war rig and just sat there staring ahead. They were like, would you like to step down? Would you like a break? She's like, no, I'm waiting for Tom. Tom arrived at 11 a.m. He was 3 hours late. Apparently, according to reports, Charlize got out and she said, well, she called him the C word and a big fight broke out. And we're not really sure what happened, but they came to blows. Okay, running out of time, but long story short, there was even some problems in post-production with the studio having massive control issues over George Miller's edit. Now, this film was edited by George Miller's wife, and it was her first time ever editing an action movie, but it paid off because she actually won the Oscar for it. But essentially, the Warner Brothers studio did their own edit of the movie, and George Miller did his edit, and they tested them in test audiences and said, let the best film win. George is won by a landslide. That's the one we see today. Thank you very much.